Hello, everybody.
Hello.
For those that don't know me, I'm Dr. Anthony, and this is Dr. Casen.
Hello. Does everyone have an outline? Is everyone good with this?
You know, today's topic is a very important one. So we're talking about the next little bit on the drugless approach to anxiety and depression. So it's really important, and actually it's the topic of Dr. Bob's next book. He hasn't come up with the name quite yet, whether it's Dr. Bob's Guide to Anxiety and Depression or Dr. Bob's Guide to a Better Brain. There's a lot of people that have been having issues with mental health, so I think it's really important that we address the topics in today. Now, what's really important, because I think a lot of times people wonder, what are a group of chiropractors talking about mental health? So Dr. Casen and I were recently somewhere, and there was a presentation on current chiropractic research. And it was really interesting. It was a lady, and she was studying brain activity before and after someone gets an adjustment. So it was really interesting. From her EEG studies of the brain, she found that the brain itself in the frontal lobe, which is like your executive functions and thinking, makes you be a person and make decisions, works 50% better after you get an adjustment. So you say, well, what does that mean? So essentially, you become a better person when you get chiropractic care. So if you ever been here and you walk out the door and you go, I don't know what they just did to me, but I feel different, or my life is better, or I'm breathing better, it has to do with brain-body communication. Now, what's really interesting, anxiety and depression, I have seen change with chiropractic care alone within a number of visits. I have a couple of stories that I know I'm not going to read all of them to you, but it's really important. I think that it's not just myself, but it's someone else that's describing what their experience is with anxiety and depression. So I'll give you a little bit of background on this first one. This is someone that was referred into our office, and she's like, why would I go see a chiropractor for anxiety and depression? She didn't know. So this is her experience. So she said, going to the drugless doctors has helped me immensely. Before going, I was having anxiety, which led to depression. I felt like I was running out of ideas to help myself because the drugs that my doctor prescribed to me weren't fixing my problems long term, they were just masking them. My sister suggested going to get chiropractic care. I showed up to my first appointment and felt out of place. I always had thought that chiropractors could only help people with physical problems. I wasn't sure if going could help any of my anxiety or depression. I explained to Dr. Casen my issues, and she told me that getting adjusted could help with anxiety and depression because everything is connected in your body. After a few months, I didn't even realize how getting adjusted had helped me until Dr. Casen brought it to my attention and asked how I was going. I noticed I was not feeling so anxious. My overall quality of life was great. I'm so happy that I took a chance to get chiropractic care because it has made me my happy self again. So, you know, it's really kind of interesting. Here's another one. I've been a proponent of chiropractic care. I've struggled emotionally for years. Anxiety, stress, depression, weight gain, weight loss, weight gain again. Could never quite figure out the cause. Was simply too stubborn to admit it was on a destructive path. And then it says, made an appointment. So glad I did. A few months later, my anxiety's in check. My mood swings are normal. Stress seems more manageable. Swelling, bloating down. List goes on and on. So it's really important. Brain-body communication is extremely important, and that's why we as chiropractors talk about that. But it's some of the tidbits that we're going to talk about the next little bit. What I just want you to do is take away the information and figure out who in your life you need to talk to it about. Because as you're going to see right next, how many adults in the United States have depression? Over 6.8 million Americans have an anxiety disorder, and 40 million adults over 18 would say that they have anxiety. So that's about 1 in 7 or 1 in 8 in the population, and I think it's probably higher than that. So this information is super important. Karen, did you have a question?
I just heard statistics on the way here today that it's down to age 15, and we're leading the world in anxiety.
Yeah. So, you know, this is an important topic in gleaning information. And one of the things that I would say for yourself, whether it's you or someone that you know has anxiety and depression, tell them that it's okay. There's ways that you can help improve that. I think probably the number one thing when someone has anxiety and depression is they feel alienated on an island and they don't know who to talk to or what to say, or even how to say, hey, I think something could be going on, that it might be anxiety and depression. I really don't know what to do. So hopefully what we're going to talk about today will really help. So Dr. C, what is depression and what is anxiety?
So I think as we start seeing families and kids in our office, and all of you were just a part of our magic adjusting time just recently, you saw all these little babies and kids in our office. Believe it or not, your kids and the people in your life when we're babies, our parents physically, chemically, and emotionally impact our physiology. So what I'm sharing with you is all these little babies and kids having their brain and nervous system be healthy and happy. That's going to help them to be able to best adapt to life's responsibilities. And if you look at these definitions here, and I have seen so many stories, and anxiety being fear or nervousness of what might happen. And I think that we're seeing this more of an epidemic now with kids. Dr. Anthony and I were just recently at a seminar, and they were talking about how experiential learning, the things that you do with your babies and your kids and your grandkids, has a huge impact on their mental health. So for example, right now in our office, and some of you watching at home or here might feel so busy, you're just going by the day-to-day activities. So I have families and kids in our office that they're not able to spend time helping their kids cook or learn. So then what happens is these young kids that we see in our office that are 13, 14, 15, they're so afraid to make a mistake because they don't want to mess up, because they've never actually had someone go alongside with them and help them. Does that make sense? So then you end up being an adult where you want to be so perfect at everything. And when we sit down with our members in our office and we're talking about your health goals and your brain and your body, and we share with them, your body will never be perfect. And sometimes I see little tears coming down people's faces because that's like the first time they've heard that our body isn't meant to be perfect, or our overall nervous system will never be perfect, but we want to help adapt to that. So I want you to think in your own life, are there areas that you have a feeling where fear because you don't want to mess up? I want to encourage you to try it. Try something new or different, especially if you have kids in your life. Encourage them and walk with them to do these different things, like cooking, like cleaning, like changing a tire on a car. We were at this seminar and someone said to their one of their members, they said, you have a flat tire, why don't you change the tire? You know how to change the tire? And they say, I don't know how to do that. No one's ever showed me how to do that. So think of these different activities even that you might not even be aware of in your life. Depression, studies have been repeatedly shown that antidepressants work no better than a placebo for mild to moderate depression, and then yet they carry significant side effects. I know all of you can go to Google, right? And people are now saying Dr. Google, right? I know all of you can type in a medication and just look at the side effects of these different drugs. And when you take one medication and another medication, it's not two interactions, it's like multiplied by 100. And then you have a third and fourth medication, and you wonder why you're getting dizziness and fatigue and fog, and you just want to consider, we don't have a license in our office to say stop taking these drugs or medications, but we do have a license to help educate you, get your body healthy, and then confidently you can work with your other provider if you're choosing to be able to decrease these medications. Because so many times you'll see on our win board people writing up there how they're happy, they're healthy, and they're off their antidepressant medications.
It's really interesting about anxiety. Anxiety is one of those things that humans are the only species of mammals that actually creates anxiety, and it's that fear and nervousness of what might happen because of how we create and make scenarios in our own brain. So some body signals that someone might have anxiety: signs of apprehension, restlessness, upset stomach, shorter breath, fatigue, insomnia, increased heart rate, sweating, and others. It's okay. We're going to get into action items right now. So depression, anxiety, if someone or you have it, it's okay. we want to work on taking small steps to get to the next level. So we have a variety of different things that we're going to work on talking about the best way to help combat anxiety and depression. The one that we've already mentioned is chiropractic care, because we've seen it firsthand how it makes a massive difference for people in their lives. Now the next thing on there is fat. Now we do a test in our office called the Omega Check. Some of you have done the Omega Check. It tests different levels of omega-3 and omega-6. So let's talk briefly about what that means. Omega-3 are for your brain and your heart. They're anti-inflammatory. They make sure that everything's working properly. Omega-6 are going to be fats, especially things that you're getting in your diet that you might get from a restaurant and the oils that they're cooking from. So I have been advocating people to really pay attention to the oils that they're using, and really only when cooking use olive oil, coconut oil, and butter. And if you're going to supplement with oils, use flax, fish oil, and optimal EFA. Because I would say, and Dr. Casen and Dr. Bob would tell you, and I'm working with Life University to write this up as a research study, we've had somewhere close to 100 Omega checks that we've done in the last 6 months, and we've had 3 normal tests. So for a population that we're seeing in our office that is already trying to be healthy, we have a serious issue on our hands. And so what can you do about it? One, you can supplement with omega-3, which definitely helps your brain, helps get rid of anxiety and depression, and minimize sources of omega-6. So any of those oils that I mentioned that are not olive oil, coconut oil, butter, you really want to avoid. So that's like canola oil, soy oil, vegetable oil, peanut oil, rapeseed oil, anything that's an oil and that's being cooked with. The biggest thing that I found after I did the Omega Check is that I made sure to get rid of sunflower and safflower oil from my life, because it's pretty much in every product when you flip it over. Salad dressing, anything that comes in a package, you really want to look to avoid those oils because they can be throwing off what's going on in your brain. So a good way to get that checked is the Omega Check that we do in the office.
I do want to stop right there. So research shows that especially with not having enough fat and oil in your brain, you are going to have a precursor or more susceptible to have brain inflammation, which can cause dementia, Alzheimer's, MS, any type of neurological, Parkinson's, depression, suicide. I had one quick story here. We did the Omega Check with this gentleman. He came in and he said, I'm having brain fog. Does anyone in here have brain fog? Nobody here? Okay. A couple people. Does anyone want to work on memory, focus, concentration? I see some heads yawning. Okay. For yourself. But we did this check with him, and he said, Dr. Case, I'm eating really, really good. You know, I do everything right. I'm doing organic, but I'm having some challenges, having some anxiety. And I said, why don't we do this check? This is like checking your oil in your car. Let's check your oil to see what else is going on. He was so high on omega-6s, which causes inflammation in the brain, and very low on those omega-3s. So we sat down, we went through his diet sheet, and he said, so Lucky Charms isn't good?
Oh my.
And I said, are you eating this every day? And he said, yes. And I said, let's look at the ingredients, which you could only imagine, soy and sugar and sunflower and all these other lists of ingredients. And then for lunch, he's eating like canned food and frozen food. And then for dinner, he's eating all these little bars and protein things. So I said, okay, let's just be really simple. Let's incorporate the omega-3s and let's start working on breakfast. Let's just focus on your breakfast, proteins and vegetables. I want you to work on it, gifting away all those Lucky Charms to someone else, okay? And let's start there. And his next adjustment, which was 1 week later, he said his brain fog went away. And I said, how long have you been having that for? And he said, years. So I want you to consider, you don't really know what your levels are until you get this blood test. Everyone can benefit from omega-3s, but one thing you can start doing right away today is start looking at everything you're putting into your body, because you'll be really surprised at the salad dressing. I know Dr. Anthony and I found it in our hummus. We found it in salad dressing. We found it in things that you wouldn't even think it's everywhere. I feel like sunflower is like the new canola, because people are trying to think that it's healthier, when really it is not. It's impacting our society and brain function. So that is a big takeaway that we've been learning with all of this different technology.
Then, the next thing that I would say, and it's one of our specials this month, is Celtic sea salt. If you want more information on Celtic sea salt, this is my recommendation. Go into YouTube, type in the Drugless doctors and Celtic sea salt. We have a video, it's a half an hour. It has many thousands of views. It's really helpful to talk about the benefits of Celtic sea salt. This is what I personally do. I use it liberally on my food and in my water. I have about 72 ounces of water with me here today, and I have about a half of a teaspoon in each of those containers. And I will tell you, and this works on me, if anybody has difficulty drinking water, add a quarter of a teaspoon of Celtic sea salt to 20 ounces. It'll change how you drink water because it is putting minerals in there, and I find that I am craving water when the salt is in there, the Celtic sea salt. So the minerals are really important. Now, I told someone else this. Today is the beginning of the season change. You're going to say, what do you mean, Dr. Anthony? Anybody notice the humidity change today? The temperature change? When humidity changes, you lose water through your skin more than you would when it's in the wintertime and it's dry. So one, you need to be hydrating. The second thing is you need minerals to replace what you're losing because of the humidity, and Celtic sea salt is a great source of that. Another great thing in order to help your body, especially with anxiety and depression, is B vitamins. I have someone say, and if they're having an issue, especially controlling their emotions, definitely want to work on supplementing with B vitamins. There's a couple of ones that we have. Someone that's looking for some general support, you might use Bio-B Complex, 1 to 3 a day. Definitely beneficial. Now, Dr. C, talk to us about the next one, because this is very important when it comes to anxiety and depression.
Everyone should be doing some type of exercise every single day. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. Even all of you as a group, after we finish our session today, could walk around these Gemini buildings a couple times. And when we were in our recent seminar, they said when you're exercising, you're stimulating something called the vagus nerve, which helps with that rest and relaxation. But it's also helping your mental and emotional health, especially when you're exercising with positive people in your life. They were talking about you do not want to exercise with people that are negative. If they're talking, if they're gossiping, if they're bringing people down, you do not want to exercise with those people because it impacts this. So I want you to rethink about your exercise and think about exercise equals a happy brain. Whether it is walking, biking, tennis, Zumba, you want to work on taking that extra time. 1 hour of exercise is only 1% of your day. Has anyone ever heard that before? Okay.
Say that again.
1 hour of exercise, when I was at, it's 1% of your day.
Math doesn't work on that.
As far as what would be 1%? Anyways, they were basically saying, someone was saying that 1 hour is really minimal if you really think about your life and how your body is improving and functioning. But it's a small amount of time. That's what they were, I'm sure, what they were getting at when they were.
2.5%.
2.5%. Got it. Okay, we're going with that. So 2.5%. We got a correction. I appreciate that. So with that, so a small amount of your day, and so many people, all of you, I know your goals, you're here today, you want to improve your brain function, right? Aren't you worth it? So it could be 3% maybe they were saying overall. But with that, you want to work on improving brain function and think of exercising as not working. It's something that you're giving back to your body. A lot of people in our office, they use this as their exercises. They say, I'm active at work. Has anyone ever heard anyone say that? I don't want to say that's an excuse. I want to say that I believe that you are active at work. But we want to also work on your nervous system and your body and your mental and emotional health. It's different when you're working on a specific activity or task at hand. So increase your movement in your life besides what you're doing on your work. Does that make sense?
Now, clean eating, we've already talked a little bit about food. Now, I'm going to break it down really simply. You want to minimize sources of sugar in your diet. What does that mean? Grains, dairy, fruit, all tend to be inflammatory. You want to increase proteins, vegetables, and good fats. So this is my challenge to you. Every lunch and every dinner, you want 50% of what you're consuming to be vegetables. I'm not telling you to be a vegetarian or a vegan. I'm just telling you to work on increase vegetables, living food, green food. You are alive and you want to be able to get living food in your body. So definitely work on doing that. So like tonight, I'm gonna have a couple of purple sweet potatoes. I have some broccoli. I have some onions. I have some kale that I'm gonna be having with my dinner. You really wanna make sure that you're having greens and vegetables. Your goal is to do 50% for lunch and dinner. That'll make a huge difference. Now, gut health is really important. I don't know how many of you realize this, but gut health has a major aspect of what goes on inside your body for anxiety and depression. 70% of your nervous system lives in your gut, called the enteric nervous system. So if you ever had a gut feeling about something, it's your nervous system trying to tell you, hey, you better watch this, or this is something that's going on. But if you've ever heard of neurotransmitters like serotonin, serotonin's created in your gut. So good gut health is really important. Now, for those that have issues with foods and you want to figure out, hey, I need to know if my body is sensitive, we're doing a special on something called the food stressor this month. It's normally $75. It's on special for $50. It takes about a half an hour to go through everything. If that's something that you're interested in, we could definitely do that. But cleaning up gut health goes back to minimizing sources of sugar, but also working on doing things like a probiotic, whether it's supplementing with a probiotic or using something like sauerkraut. Now, we're gonna bring the wagon train home. We've already talked about two of our specials that we have this month. Celtic sea salt's 10% off all month. Our food stressor evaluation is a $25 savings. A lot of people wanna know, is there a supplement that I could take to help me with what's going on up here? We use a product in our office called L-Lyzyme Forte, or Lyzyme Forte. It's a vegetable-based lithium product. Very, very, very helpful for a lot of people that are struggling with anxiety and depression. So I would definitely recommend utilizing that. Dr. Casen's also going to be doing breast thermography in the office Friday and Tuesday of next week. If you have any interest in doing that, or if you're watching online, that's something you could give our office a call for. Now, this next month's Half Hour to Health is going to be a doozy. How to stretch and improve your posture. So the beginning of June, we're going to do that. June 5th, which happens to be Dr. Casen's birthday, so bring her a birthday hat. June 6th at 6, June 5th at noon. Come and learn. Was this helpful to everybody that watched and listened today?
Did everyone take one thing away? Now, raise of hands, how many people know someone right now that could use this information? Okay, so for all of you, you can go on our Facebook page, the Drugless Doctors, and we just stream this. And also the outline will be on our website, and we'll have outlines next week on our carousel. I encourage you to share this with someone in your life, because like all these stories that Dr. Anthony was sharing, these people, prior to coming into our office, they were thinking, what in the world is a chiropractor gonna do for my emotional health, my anxiety, panic attacks? And it's amazing as you start working on getting everything connected on the inside. So I just want to leave you with one last story. This gives me goosebumps. This woman, she shared, I came to the Drugless Doctors after my first semester of college, where I was definitely at an all-time low. Very overweight, stressed, often sick with sinus infections, and I just wasn't feeling myself. My mom had been raving about the Drugless Doctors, and I have to admit, I was very skeptical. I don't know if any of you out there have been that way. What could a chiropractor do to help me lose weight? I was certainly proved wrong. I walked in, and all of the team were so comforting and helped me devise a plan to improve my whole lifestyle, and it did. Through diet change, knowledgeable information, weekly adjustments, I started to feel myself again. 4 months later, I lost 34 pounds. 34 pounds, and for some of you out there, it's taking the next steps of coming in for an evaluation to see if we can help you, and focusing on the anti-inflammatory food diet, which is basically proteins and vegetables, healthy fats, water, exercise, and sleep, which we talked about today. So this young girl in her first semester of college, imagine that, lost 34 pounds. Rarely does she have sinus infections. She has so much better control over her mental health. The Drugless doctors can help you improve your whole life in so many different ways. You have to be willing to try it. What she didn't share was she was having depression, anxiety, and thoughts of suicide. So can you imagine if that mom did not bring that girl in her first semester of college? I can't imagine it. So I know some of you know people like this, and they're at their last leg. They think there's nothing else to do. So I encourage you, have them come in to see if we can help them. And if we can't, we'll find someone who can. So I want to personally thank all of you for being here. It's a huge topic right now in the world, and you are the heroes out there. You're the people that are going to share with others that there is a different way and a drugless approach. So I encourage you, share the message with them, and our videos are online. If you have people in your life that you're thinking of referring into the office, encourage them to come in to see if we can make a difference for them. Thank you so much.
Okay.